Hi guys, this is Debbie with Debbie J's Crafting Corner. Today I'm creating another Halloween Slimline card, this time doing some masking and ink blending. I just love Oddball Stamps. The digital set that I'm using today is called Adventure Awaits. I resized the ones I wanted to play with and printed them out onto some Michaels white cardstock. I thought this image of the suitcases would be perfect for a slimline card, so I created a frame to go around it that's about 3.5 inches by 7 inches. I'm starting off by doing some blending using some distressed oxide ink and frayed burlap, and I love those witch crossing signs, and I thought they would be really cool in kind of a distressed yellow look, so I'm going over those with that. Plus I haven't done any ink blending in a while, so I wanted to experiment on part that's not part of the main card. Off camera, I scanned this page into my ScanNCut and cut a mask to match the main image out of some contact paper that I bought a while back from the Dollar Tree. This stuff works great for masks. Since it's plastic, you can use it over and over again. So I'm just lining that up with my image, trying to be as close as I can on those lines. Not real good at masking, but you know, a little practice. And then I'm just going to go ahead and start off by using that same frayed burlap distress oxide ink to go around it. I'm kind of wanting to do kind of like a yellow glow from behind those suitcases. Next, I'll move on to some grades. I'm using Catherine Pooler inks for this and starting off with Melon Ice. It's kind of a yellowy green color, mostly yellow, a little tint of green, and I figured that that is closest to the frayed burlap. So I'm going ahead and blending that, and then I'm going on to Garden Party, which is a little bit more green because I didn't feel I was getting enough green in there. But you see what I'm doing. I'm starting at the center and working my way out to the edges. This is going to be kind of a soft blend, not a lot of ink on there. And then I'm finally finishing this one, finishing up with Grass Skirt. Now that one is a bright green, so I thought that would work really well for the darkest color on the outside. So now it's time for the reveal. This always looks so cool when you take off the mask. I'm also putting those masks on that release paper that I took them from initially. That way I can use them on another project next time. I'll probably just put these in an envelope and keep it in with my Halloween stamps, and then when I come back across it next year, that'll remind me that I do have the digital stamp for this. That'll be just so cool. Now for some color. As usual, I'm reaching for my Spectrum Noir markers to do all of the coloring today. I'll have a list of the colors that I used over on my blog. I'm also speeding this up quite a bit because I don't want to keep you all day, and I'm not really a fast colorer. I really do like the way that everything turned out in the end though. For the witch's hat, I'm using the green-gray family of markers. These are the GG1, GG2, GG3, and GG4, and you probably guessed it, GG4 is the darkest, so I'm using that on quite a bit of this to give all of the shadows and darker tones on it, and I'm using mostly GG2 for any kind of highlights, with GG3 kind of blending everything out. For the striped suitcase, I went with the lavender family, so I'm using LV1 and LV3. Starting off with just putting some LV3 down as the darker shade, and then the LV1 is going to be the lighter. Now, the LV2 I don't really like, doesn't really blend well with these guys, so I'm just touching the tip of LV1 to the LV3 and using that to blend out that color a little bit. It doesn't get as light as I'd like in some areas, but in the end, I think it just looked really, really cool this way. And then I went back over it with LV1 to try to lighten that up in the middle a little bit. Then I went on to the broom. I'm starting off with Saddle Brown, which is TN5, and then I'm bringing in some TN4, Warm Beige, and then some CT1, which is Daffodil. I like that yellow tone mixed in with all of the browns. I think it gives it a little bit more of a realistic look. And then to give it a little bit more depth, I added in TN7, which is Leather. For the bottom suitcase, I'm going with some oranges. I'm starting off with BO4, which is Burnt Orange, and putting all of the shadows and places that I want a little bit more depth, I'm putting that in with a Burnt Orange. Then I'm moving on to BO2, which is Mango, and blending out the Burnt Orange a little bit, and then I'll finish up with BO1, which is Vanilla. I finished up the suitcase by coloring the straps and handles with LV1. Now for that top suitcase. I'm starting off by coloring all of these areas that need some shadowing, like the bottom and along those straps, with AP2, which is Old Rose. And then I'm blending it out and coloring the rest of the suitcase in AP1. Now this turned out really interesting. I hadn't tried this color combination before, but I really like the depth that it added to that suitcase. For those little metal corners on the suitcase, I'm using CT1 and GY1 to kind of give it, I don't know, a metallic goldish look. Also, there were a few little places that I missed when I was masking. The mask didn't cut out. So I'm just using CT1 because it pretty much matches that frayed burlap color. Then I'm using a variety of different colors to color in all of those little stickers on the suitcase. And to finish up the coloring, I'm using MB1 and MB2, that's Muted Brown and Soft Brown, for the straps on that top suitcase. Now that all of the coloring is done, I took the page over to my ScanNCut and had it cut out the images I wanted to use for this card. Other than, of course, those those witch crossing signs. I'd gotten enough of the color off the outside that it didn't want to cut well. I also did a few additional images that I'm going to use on another card. Next, I'm going to go ahead and just mat that main panel down onto some black cardstock using my dot liner adhesive. I figured that this would look pretty good with a 1/4 inch mat, so I cut this all down to size using my Fiskars 9-inch bypass trimmer. Then I realized that this is too wide to fit on the 3.5-inch wide card base that I'll be creating for this slimline card. So I trimmed the mat down some more, finishing with my regular tiny mat border that's about 1/16 of an inch. Now for the card base. I'm using my normal heavyweight cardstock from Michaels and scoring at 3.5 inches to create a slimline card base that'll fit in an size 10 business envelope. After folding and burnishing on the fold, I cut off the excess with my paper trimmer. Now I can adhere that card panel onto the card base using my dot liner adhesive. And since that card is just a little bit too tall for the panel, I just cut off the excess. Now, I just have to have a little sparkle, so I'm taking my Spectrum Noir Sparkle Glitter Brush Pen and adding some shimmer to the bats, to the hat, and then to the sentiment down at the bottom. And then the battery on my phone, which I was using as a camera, went out. I also added some Sour Apple Nuvo Glow Drops in neon that was just the perfect finishing touch for this card. That finishes up this card for today. I hope that you are inspired to get going on your Halloween crafting, and I would love to see what you create. So come join my Facebook group, Crafting with Debbie, and show us your creations. I've left a link in the description box down below. Oh, and if you make anything using ideas from one of my Halloween videos, please post a picture and tag me at hashtag Debbie J's Crafting Corner and at hashtag DJCC Halloween 2020. You can also see all of my Halloween videos for 2020 by clicking on the hashtag DJCC Halloween 2020 down in the video title. Here are some other videos that you may be interested in. Thank you so much for dropping by, and remember, if I can make it, you can too.